Hello, Pellissippi State Community College. It's great to be back in Knoxville. And hello to my colleagues, and hello to all the students who are here today. Thank you, Governor Haslam, for that kind introduction and for welcoming us to your state. We are here today because community colleges have entered a new day in America. Community colleges lead the way in preparing graduates in the fields of advanced manufacturing, energy, and information technology, some of the fastest growing fields in America and the rest of the world. In fact, nearly half of all undergraduate students attend community colleges. Equipping American workers with the skills they need to succeed in the global economy is a top priority for President Obama and my husband, Joe, the Vice President. But I am not a politician. I am an English professor. I have taught in community colleges for more than 20 years, and I still teach full-time at a community college outside of Washington, D.C. In fact, I was just in my classroom yesterday preparing for the semester ahead. Teaching is my life's work. I teach because I love seeing the difference that I hope to make in my students' lives. My goal is to always give them the confidence in their own abilities, because I know that confidence will carry them well beyond my classroom in whatever they do. And as I work hard every day to inspire my students, it is ultimately they who inspire me. In my classroom, I find single parents who come to school in the evening, weary from a long day, yet eager to create a brighter future for their children. I have taught veterans who return to the classroom to complete their higher education as they look to transition to civilian careers. And I have seen workers who have gone as far as they can go in their jobs, get the skills they need to reach the next level. I see it over and over again because the students are so committed to furthering their education. They know it is the key to a better life for themselves and their families. I know what happens in a community college classroom, and it is extraordinary. As Second Lady, and at President Obama's request, I have traveled across the country visiting community colleges from Seattle to Miami, and from Texas to right here in the heart of Tennessee. In fact, 2 years ago, I visited Roane State Community College during my Community College to Career bus tour. I have been to over 60 campuses to learn more about how community colleges are providing students with the education and training that they need for the jobs of the 21st century. This all goes back to our fundamental belief: if you are ready to work, you should be able to find a job that fits your skills or get trained with the skills you need for a better job. We all reap the benefits when our citizens are well educated and well trained. It means that our economies are more vibrant and the future is brighter. This is the moment for community colleges to shine. As an educator, I am grateful and tremendously proud to work for a president and a vice president who are committed to restoring the promise of the American educational system. We recognize the value of community colleges and in investing in them. We believe that all Americans deserve the opportunity to reach their full potential. It is now my pleasure to introduce my husband, our Vice President, Joe Biden.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Please excuse my back. I apologize for my back being to you. And my name is Joe Biden. I am Jill Biden's husband. And you all had the immediate same instinctive reaction when she said it's a pleasure working for the president and the vice president. Can you imagine her working for me? I mean, that's the first time I've ever heard, fellas, that ever uttered. I say to my colleagues from the Senate and the governorship. But that's why this is worth the trip. I'm here just sandwiched between a great president and a great second lady whose passion for the community colleges is intense, as you could probably see. This is known as Jill's territory. No, I mean that sincerely. Within the White House, this is sort of Jill's territory. She and Arne Duncan have been, our Secretary of Education, have been just absolutely relentless, and they're making the case that the single best kept secret in America is the community college system. And our administration is committed to letting that secret out. So, Governor, thank you for your hospitality. It was not only great being here, but getting to ride with you from the airport in. What a beautiful part of the world you all live in. What a beautiful part of the world you all live in. And to my friend, Lamar Alexander, who is, as an old saying goes, in my old neighborhood back east, who's forgotten more about education than most people are going to learn. And Bob Corker, who's a great friend. We served together in the Foreign Relations Committee. Now he is the chairman of that powerful committee. And Pellissippi State Community College President Anthony Wise. It's a delight to have you here. You know, I imagine some of the students behind me and all the professors behind me and those who are students out in the audience here, you all know the names of people that Jill was talking about. That 19-year-old kid, although qualified, doesn't have the money to go to a four-year college, but knows that the cheapest way to get there is through transferring credits from a solid community college. Or that 35-year-old woman who's been a victim of abuse in her family has broken away and decided that she's moving forward to going to take care of she and her children and has the courage to go back. That 40-year-old man who has lost his job and has never really was that good in school but musters up the courage to decide to go back to school, to go to community college. That guy who says, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it for my family. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing for people to do. But the stock of students who make up our community colleges is the stuff America is made of. And I really mean that. Think about the students, particularly those who've been away a long time. Imagine all of you with good educations if you were going to go back to school now after having been out of a classroom for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's intimidating. It takes real courage. It takes real commitment. And it's a plain fact that community colleges are one of the most direct avenues today to the middle class. And we need you. We need the colleges, and we need the stuff of which they are made up. You know, when the president and I were first sworn in back in 2009, we stated then what we said when we joined as a team to run for president and vice president, that our first goal was to pull America out of the greatest recession in our history short of a depression, and in the process, reestablish the footing of the middle class in America. Because that footing was already being lost before the Great Recession. Because the middle class is the vehicle that built this great country. It's been built on the shoulders of hardworking middle-class people. And so the fact of the matter is everything we have done, and we have made mistakes, but on balance, I'm very proud of the record. Everything we have done has been designed to give the middle class a better footing. But we had to rebuild the foundations of the economy first. Democrats and Republicans, and quite frankly, the American people having the grit to do it. And America is coming back and coming back strong. I might note parenthetically, you no longer hear significant business people or anyone talking about how the rest of the world, the Asia and China, are going to outcompete us, how the European Union is going to eat our lunch. The truth of the matter is, America's positioned to, in fact, play the same role in the 21st century we did in the 20th century. And if we do what we should, there's no reason why this will not be an American century. The magic of the phenomenal growth of the United States beginning in the early 20th century was a consequence of a fundamental decision made in the state of New York in the late 1800s, when it was decided that in America, every American would be entitled to 12 years of education. The first nation in the world to do that. The first nation. Not everyone's guaranteed to graduate, but everyone is entitled to have access, free access to an education. And the rest of the world was way behind. But it took a long time to catch up, but they have caught up. And now we know what you all know. 12 years is not enough. 12 years is not enough, any more than 8 years was enough in 1919. It doesn't mean that everyone needs a 4-year college degree or a graduate degree. There are many other avenues. But 6 out of 10 jobs by the end of this decade will require training beyond a high school degree. It can be an apprenticeship, it can be a certificate, it can be a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, a graduate degree. So the world has changed. Competition has changed. But the United States and the American people have built into their DNA a confidence that is showing now and showing through as it always has. But we have to make sure that every person in America gets an education to the extent that they desire and to the extent to which they are capable. That's why the President asked me in the State of the Union a year ago, almost to the day, to come up with a roadmap to determine how do we maintain and guarantee we have the most skilled workforce in the world. It's within our capacity, but is also absolutely necessary if we're going to capitalize on the overwhelming potential that still exists here in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, the facts are there, and the opportunities are there as well. We're going to need, for example, it showed after a 7-month study with the whole of the government looking at it, we're going to need 1.3 million IT jobs by the end of this decade. Average salary, $50,000 a year, requiring less than a two-year degree or less. In healthcare, we need another 600,000 registered nurses in the near term. Average salary, $60,000 to $75,000 a year. Some need bachelor's degrees, but most associate degrees. You can live a middle-class life with one of the wage earners making that basic salary. I could go on. Jobs in advanced manufacturing and energy. These are the kinds of good-paying middle-class jobs that millions of Americans can get through training at a community college. The point is that access to education after high school is critical for your generation, the generation of the students behind me. It's critical as a high school education was for our grandparents. It is simply that straightforward. And as Jill has said many times over the last 20 years, any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. Let me say it again. Any country that out-educates us will out-compete us. And there's no reason, none whatsoever, why we have to allow that to happen. Like I said, this is the best-kept secret in America. The most flexible mechanism is a community college. Nearly 40% of all undergraduates in the United States of America are in community colleges now. And in almost every state in the Union, which wasn't the case 20, 25 years ago, there's a direct path, if the student chooses it, to take those credits which are directly transferable to UT or the University of Delaware or other state universities to a four-year degree, cutting essentially in half the cost. But we've got to keep it up. We've got to do more. And it's fully within our capacity to do that. President Kennedy said, and I quote, "Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education. Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education." I remember 4 years ago, as we used to say in the Senate, as my colleagues would tell you, excuse a point of personal privilege. Michelle, Barack, I don't say that publicly, the First Lady and the President, Jill and I were standing in the wings about to be introduced in the convention hall with, I don't remember, 60, 80,000 people. And we stood there looking at each other, kind of marveling that we were standing there. And I forget who said it, was Jill or Michelle, that not one of us would be standing there were it not for the help we got, beyond what our families could do, the help we got to get the educations we had. Not one of us would be standing there. Everyone should have that opportunity. Everyone. No guarantees. Everyone. And the man who I believe is more committed to making sure everyone has that opportunity, more committed than any man or woman I've worked with in my entire career, is the man I'd like to introduce to you now. My friend, the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Hello, everybody. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. Please have a seat. Well, it is good to be back in Tennessee. I hope you guys aren't getting tired of me. I've been coming around a lot lately because there's a lot of good stuff happening here. I want to begin by thanking Joe and Jill Biden. They're not just good friends and good partners, but they really believe in the power of education, and they really believe in creating those kinds of ladders to opportunity that gave all three of us and Michelle the chances, the incredible opportunities that we've had today. And they understand the promise of America's community colleges. Well, Jill really understands it, and Joe, he doesn't really have a choice. But before I get into the reason that I'm here today, I want to begin by saying just a few words about the tragic events that we've watched unfold in France over the last several hours and days. And because events have been fast-moving this morning, I wanted to make sure to comment on them. I just spoke to my counterterrorism advisor. We have been in close touch with the French government throughout this tragedy. The moment that the outrageous attack took place, we directed all of our law enforcement and counterintelligence operations to provide whatever support that our ally needs in confronting this challenge. We're hopeful that the immediate threat is now resolved, thanks to the courage and professionalism of the French personnel on the ground. But the French government continues to face the threat of terrorism and has to remain vigilant. The situation is fluid. President Hollande's made it clear that they're going to do whatever is necessary to protect their people. And I think it's important for us to understand. France is our oldest ally. I want the people of France to know that the United States stands with you today, stands with you tomorrow. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families who've been directly impacted. We grieve with you. We fight alongside you to uphold our values, the values that we share. universal values that bind us together as friends and as allies. And in the streets of Paris, the world's seen once again what terrorists stand for. They have nothing to offer but hatred and human suffering. And we stand for freedom and hope and the dignity of all human beings. And that's what the city of Paris represents to the world. And that spirit will endure forever, long after the scourge of terrorism is banished from this world. So that's important. Now, I'm in Knoxville not only because I just like Knoxville, but I'm here today because one of my resolutions is to make sure that folks across this great country feel like they are coming back. And there is no doubt, thanks to the steps we took early on to rescue our economy and to rebuild it on a new foundation, America is coming back. Now, I'm not running for office anymore. So let me just present the facts. I promised that 2014 would be a breakthrough year for America. This morning, we got more evidence to back that up. In December, our businesses created 240,000 new jobs. Our unemployment rate fell to 5.6%, which is the lowest in 6.5 years. What that means is 2014 was the strongest year for job growth since the 1990s. Unemployment fell in 2014 faster than any year since 1984. Now think about that. It's been 30 years since unemployment fell as fast as it did last year. And most importantly, we're seeing faster job growth in industries that provide good paying jobs, traditionally middle-class jobs, than anything else. Since 2010, the United States of America has created more jobs than Europe, Japan, and every other advanced economy combined. American manufacturing is in its best stretch of job growth since the 1990s. We're actually seeing companies insourcing instead of outsourcing. They're realizing we want to be here with American workers making American products. America is now the world's #1 producer in oil, gas. We've doubled the production of clean energy. And by the way, you're saving about $1.10 a gallon at the pump over this time last year. Although I keep on reminding folks, gas prices, they go up and they come down and then they go up. So I just want everybody to know that you should enjoy this. Take the money you're saving, pay off the credit card or go get a new appliance or buy a fuel-efficient car so that when prices go back up, you're still well positioned. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, about 10 million Americans have gained health insurance over the past year. And by the way, we've done this while cutting our deficits by about 2/3. Everybody thinks that they did a survey. In every survey, they ask, is the deficit going up or going down? And 70% of Americans say the deficit's going up. The deficit has come down by 2/3 since I took office. So, meanwhile, thanks to the hard work of students and educators, dropout rates are down, graduation rates are up, and after 13 long years, our war in Afghanistan's come to a responsible end, and we've got more troops that were home this holiday season. So, I say all this because, these 6 years have demanded a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice on everybody's part. And as a country, we've got every right to be proud of what we've got to show for it. America's resurgence is real. And now that we've seen calmer waters economically, if we all do our part, if we all pitch in, then we can start making sure that all boats are actually lifted again, and wages and incomes start rising again. And we can make sure that the middle class is the engine that powers America's prosperity, just as it always has. So that's going to be the focus of my State of the Union address in a couple weeks. I want to give you a little preview. Don't tell anybody I said this. But I'm giving you the inside scoop. That's going to be the essence of my message. How do we build on the progress that we've made? And I figured, why wait for the State of the Union? Why stand on formalities? Let's get the ball rolling right now. 2 days ago, I visited Michigan, where workers have brought the auto industry roaring back, and we talked about what else we can do around advanced manufacturing. Yesterday, I was in Arizona, where I announced new actions to make the dream of home ownership a reality for more middle-class families. Later today, Joe and I are going to head to a company in Clinton to take action that will develop high-tech industry even further here in Tennessee. And right here, right now, at Pellissippi State, I'm going to announce one of my most important State of the Union proposals, and that's helping every American afford a higher education. Now, part of the reason I wanted to come here was because Tennessee is at the forefront of doing some really smart stuff, and we've got some proud Tennesseans who, can take some credit for the great work that's been done. First, your governor, Bill Haslam, who's here. Your two very fine senators. You got Bob Corker. And your senior senator, Lamar Alexander, who's a former Secretary of Education himself, so he knows a little bit about this. We got Congressman John Duncan. Your mayor, Madeline Ruggiero. And we've got Pellissippi's president, Anthony Wise. Hey! And we've got all of you. Now, Joe already and Jill both already touched on these themes, but let me just amplify them a little bit. Here in America, we don't guarantee equal outcomes. Some folks work harder, some folks don't. Some folks take advantage of opportunities, some folks don't. Some people have good luck, some people have bad luck, and things don't always work out where everything's perfectly equal. But we do expect that everybody gets an equal shot. We do expect everybody can go as far as their dreams and hard work will take them. We don't expect anybody to be bound by the circumstances of their birth. If they were, I wouldn't be here, and neither would Jill. Jill, she's so accomplished, she would have succeeded no matter what. But we expect everybody to get a fair shot. And in exchange, we do our fair share. That's the basic bargain at the heart of this country. If you work hard, you can get ahead. It shouldn't matter what your last name is or what we look like or what family we were born into or how we worship. What matters is effort and merit. That's the promise of America. And the way we deliver on that is making sure that our education system works on behalf of every person who lives here. America thrived in the 20th century, in large part because we made high school the norm. And then we sent a generation to college on the GI Bill, including my grandfather. Then we dedicated ourselves to cultivating the most educated workforce in the world, and we invested in what's one of the crown jewels of this country, and that's our higher education system. And dating back to Abraham Lincoln, we invested in land-grant colleges. We understood that this was a hallmark of America, this investment in education. But eventually the world caught on, and the world caught up. And that's why we have to lead the world in education again. That's why my administration is working to make high-quality early childhood education available to all of our kids. We know if we invest in them early, it pays dividends on the back end. That's why we're working to bring high-speed broadband to 99% of America's students within the next 4 years. We want to make sure every child is plugged in. That's why we're recruiting more highly trained math and science teachers. That's why we're working to raise standards and invest more in our elementary and middle and high schools so that every young person is prepared for a competitive world. And this work is not easy. Sometimes it's controversial. It's not going to be the same in every state. But in places like Tennessee, we're seeing incredible strides as a consequence of these efforts. Over the past few years, Tennessee students have improved their reading scores and math scores more than any other state in the country. That's a credit to their hard work, their teachers' hard work, Governor Haslam's hard work, leaders from both parties. It's been a bipartisan effort. Every Tennessean should be proud of that. And today, in a 21st century economy where your most valuable asset is your knowledge, the single most important way to get ahead is not just to get a high school education. You've got to get some higher education. That's why all of you are here. Now, the value of an education is not purely instrumental. Education helps us be better people. It helps us be better citizens. You came to college to learn about the world and to engage with new ideas and to discover the things you're passionate about. And maybe have a little fun. And to expand your horizons. That's terrific. That's a huge part of what college has to offer. But you're also here now more than ever because a college degree is the surest ticket to the middle class. It is the key to getting a good job that pays a good income and to provide you the security where even if you don't have the same job for 30 years, you're so adaptable and you have a skill set and the capacity to learn new skills, it ensures you're always employable. And that is the key, not just for individual Americans, that's the key for this whole country's ability to compete in the global economy. In the new economy, jobs and businesses will go wherever the most skilled, best educated workforce resides. Because businesses are mobile now. Technology means they can locate anywhere, and where they have the most educated, most adaptable, most nimble workforce, that's where they're going to locate. And I want them to look no further than the United States of America. I want them coming right here. I want those businesses here, and I want the American people to be able to get those businesses, or get those jobs that those businesses create. So that's why we've increased grants and took on a student loan system that was funneling billions of taxpayer dollars through the big banks and said, let's cut out the middleman, let's give them directly to students instead, we can help more students. We've increased scholarships. We've cut taxes for people paying tuition. We've let students cap their federal student loan payments at 10% of income so that they can borrow with confidence, particularly if you're going into a job like nursing or teaching that may not pay a huge salary, but that's where your passions are. We're creating a new college rating system that will give parents and students the kind of clear, concise information you need to shop around for a school with the best value for you. And gives us capacity to recognize schools that offer a great education at a reasonable price. On the flight over here, Lamar and I were talking about how we can do more to simplify the application process for federal student loans, which is still too complicated. So we've done a lot of good work over the last 6 years. We're going to keep at it. But today, I want to focus on a centerpiece of my education agenda, and that's the community colleges like this one. For millions of Americans, community colleges are essential pathways to the middle class because they're local, they're flexible, they work for people who work full-time, they work for parents who have to raise kids full-time, they work for folks who've gone as far as their skills will take them and want to earn new ones but don't have the capacity to just suddenly go study for 4 years and not work. Community colleges work for veterans transitioning back into civilian life. Whether you're the first in your family to go to college or coming back to school after many years away, community colleges find a place for you. And you can get a great education. Now, Jill's been teaching English at community colleges for 20 years. She started when she was like 15. And she's still full-time today. And she sees, you know, I talk to her and she talks about her students. And she can see the excitement and the promise. And sometimes the fear of being a 32-year-old mom who's going back to school and never finished the degree that she'd started, and life got in the way, and now she's coming back and suddenly getting a whole new skill set and seeing a whole range of career options opening up to her. It's exciting. And that's what community colleges are all about, the idea that no one with drive and discipline should be left out, should be locked out of opportunity. And certainly that nobody with that drive and discipline should be denied a college education just because they don't have the money. Every American, whether they're young or just young at heart, should be able to earn the skills and education necessary to compete and win in the 21st century economy. So, today, I'm announcing an ambitious new plan to bring down the cost of community college tuition in America. I want to bring it down to zero. I want to make it free. I want to make it free. Community colleges should be free for those willing to work for it. Because in America, a quality education cannot be a privilege that is reserved for a few. I think it's a right for everybody who's willing to work for it. Now, the good news is you already do something like this in Tennessee. You call it Tennessee Promise. So you call it Tennessee Promise, and we thought, why not just build on what works? So we're going to call it America's College Promise. And the concept is simple. America's College Promise will make 2 years of community college free to responsible students who are willing to work for it. Now, I want to underscore that last clause, everybody who's working hard for it. There are no free rides in America. You would have to earn it. Students would have to do their part by keeping their grades up. Colleges would have to do their part by offering high-quality academics and helping students actually graduate. States would have to do their part too. This isn't a blank check. It's not a free lunch. But for those willing to do the work, and for states and local communities that want to be a part of this, it can be a game changer. Think about it. Students who started at community colleges during those 2 years and then go on to a 4-year institution, they essentially get the first half of their bachelor's degree for free. People who enroll for skills training will graduate really already ready to work, and they won't have a pile of student debt. 2 years of college will become as free and universal as high school is today. Now, we're also taking another page out of Tennessee's playbook and making investments to expand technical training programs at community colleges, much like you do through your 27 colleges of applied technology. You know, Joe did a terrific job running a task force that we put together just to look at the job training and technical training systems all around the country. And at a time when jobs are changing and higher wages call for higher skills, we've got to make sure workers have a chance to get those skills. We want young people to graduate with real-world training that leads directly to good jobs. And we want older workers to get retrained so they can compete. And we want more women and minorities to get jobs in fields that traditionally they've been left out of, like science and technology and engineering and math. And we want to connect community colleges with employers, because when that's done right, these partnerships pay off for everybody. Students learn on the job, employers get access to talent, colleges get help designing courses that actually prepare people for the workplace, all of which creates better pathways to today's middle class. So we're going to find the programs that work, and we're going to help them grow. Now, in a few weeks, I'm going to send to Congress my plan for free community college. I hope that Congress will come together to support it, because opening the doors of higher education shouldn't be a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. This is an American issue. Governor Haslam is a Republican. Governor Haslam's a Republican, and thanks to his leadership last year, Democrats and Republicans came together and made Tennessee the first state in decades to offer free community college to its students. Meanwhile, up in my hometown of Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who is a Democrat, is now offering free community college. And they're pairing students with growing sectors of the economy so they graduate with good jobs. So if a state with Republican leadership is doing this, and a city with Democratic leadership is doing this, then how about we all do it? Let's do it for our future. And as I said before, there are a bunch of good bipartisan ideas out there. A few days ago, Senator Alexander joined forces with Democratic Senator Michael Bennet to introduce the legislation that would make financial aid forms simpler. I noticed a lot of people applauded because it's been a while since I filled it out, but I understand there's more than 100 questions on it. It just shouldn't be that hard to apply for aid for college. And so I've committed to working with Senator Alexander. Let's shrink it down. Let's make life a little easier for millions of families. The point is, we're not going to agree on everything. But simplifying that form, that's something we should be able to agree on. Let's get that done this year. Because in the end, nothing's more important to our country than you, our people. That's our asset. We've got very nice real estate here. We got this incredible bounty. The God-given resources that we enjoy in this country. But our greatest resources are people. And I want to say to the students here and the staff and faculty how proud I am of what you guys are doing. A lot of students here, I know you had to overcome some obstacles to get here. Many of you are the first in your families to go to college. Some of you are working full-time while you're going to school. But you're making this investment in you, and by doing that, you're making an investment in this country's future. And I just want to use one person's story as an example. Caitlin McLaughlin. Where's Caitlin? Where is she? Is she here? I thought she was here a second ago. But I'm going to tell her story anyway. She was raised by a single mom. She helped make ends meet, getting her first job almost the minute she could, 2 days after her 16th birthday. When it came time for college, the money wasn't there. But Caitlin lives in Tennessee, so she knew she had a great free option. She completed 2 years at this institution. Now she's a senior at Maryville College. She's working full-time, just like she has since her first day of college. And Caitlin says, a lot of people like me got discouraged. I get discouraged. But I can look back and say, you've made it so far. I've learned that things aren't always what you want, but you can make them what you want. That's wisdom. Things aren't always what you want, but you can make them what you want. That's what America's about. We can make of our lives what we will. And there are going to be bumps, and there are going to be challenges, and we've come through some very hard times. Things aren't always what we wanted, but we have overcome discouragement, and we have overcome division and sometimes some discord, and we don't give up. We get up, we fight back, we come back stronger than before. Thanks to the hard work of the American people, the United States of America is coming back. And I've never been as confident as I've in my entire life that we're going to make of our future what we want of it. Thanks to you. Appreciate it, Tennessee. God bless you. God bless America.